Hi. This one comes at you from a different angle this week. I hope you're all doing well. I want to talk about songwriting. Where does it come from? I mean, within you, what makes you want to write songs? Quite often people will say, well, what do I talk about? I haven't got anything to say. Or, well, songwriters generally won't say that. They'll probably feel like that sometimes, we all do, but so yeah, I just wanted to discuss, where does a songwriter draw material from? For me, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go back and get a little bit personal. I realise I'm a bit dishevelled this evening because it's quite hot here and I can't run the fan whilst the camera's on. I was 4 years old when my mother left the household. I was put into child psychiatry at that age. I was in and out of different schools because I was difficult, erratic behaviour. I was always fighting, basically being a pain in the backside. That carried on through till I was about 15, 16. And my dad, obviously, I mean, I'm going back 1975 now. And soon after that, he started drinking heavily. He was never very good at drinking heavily, I should say. You know, he'd drink 1.5, 2 bottles of wine, and that was not good for him because his body just, for whatever reason, he didn't tolerate it very well. And then there were a few occasions throughout probably 10, 15, or maybe 15 years, I'd say, where he was drinking every night and just drink. He'd never drunk more and more. He would always be kind of, this is I know we're going off topic here, but it's about songwriting and what makes you a songwriter. Stay with me, folks, it's going to make sense. But he would drink in a controlled environment, in a controlled manner, because I'd be in bed at 4, 5, 6 years old up until the age of, I guess, 14, 15. He would carry on drinking after that, but I was old enough to take care of myself. He would carry on drinking. And a couple of times he had to go to hospital. I don't know who called the ambulance, I'm not sure. It certainly wasn't me. Had to have his stomach pumped, and then he'd come back and he'd be drinking again. I'm not going to go into any more details than that because it's a different channel. Anyway, so I was under all this help. I was like, crikey, people thought I was getting bullied at school, but I wasn't. I fast forward till I was 17, 18, I think, and I got into a different group of friends that were more musically involved, and my dad was always a musician, so there was always music around the house. So I was kind of always, just musically quite aware, evolved in a way. And so I fell into a group of friends that were also like-minded. They also came from quite unusual backgrounds, maybe divorce, maybe whatever, but they weren't songwriters. They never professed to be or tried to be. So it's a difficult one, this, because it's getting really quite personal, and I don't want to go too, but it's easy to go down that personal line, and I don't want to do that. So, because there are still people around that know who he was, and family and stuff like that, so I don't want to do that. Anyway, so yeah, I picked up the guitar and started to play, and wasn't very good, but it did come naturally, even though I wasn't good. Well, no one's good when they first pick it up, I guess, but there was always this angst, especially at 16, 17, 18 years old, when I started getting into kind of like Pink Floyd, The Wall, or Bob Dylan. And there was always that kind of angst. You'd listen to records and you'd really identify with it because you were young. And so I want to talk about what drives you to be a songwriter, because it really is a form of therapy, self-therapy, self-help, and it's a great distraction from the reality of life, I think. Obviously, as a songwriter, if you're young, you're probably thinking, well, what do I know? I haven't, I've been around for 5 minutes as an adult, and I'm still only 19. So what can I talk about? And I would say, well, you've got to talk about what you know. Any songwriter has to talk about what they know. Now, the problem with this is when you're young, you don't know a lot, but you still have feelings, you still have emotions, you still have things to draw upon. You might not be correct in what you're saying, but it's still an opinion. Right or wrong, it's an opinion. So I think it's important to remember that just because you're young, don't let that stop you. That's ridiculous. I mean, Bob Dylan was writing fantastic songs at 17, 18 years old. Songs that still stand up and sell millions of albums a year now. Obviously it's a bit of a stretch to imagine anyone else is gonna. It's a bit like saying, well, I've just met this kid and he's going to be the next Muhammad Ali, and you think, well, really? Well, we'll see. But, so yeah, I want to talk about young songwriters. So when you're young, what have you got to talk about? Well, I'm guessing poverty, insecurities, injustice, race, infatuation, ecology. Ecology seems to be a big favourite right now in the last few years. It doesn't mean to say you're going to be correct in what you say about all of these issues, all of these topics, but you've still got an opinion, and believe it or not, you've got an audience. You've still got a bunch of 18 to 25 year olds who are going to listen to you. So don't think for one moment that your opinion's wasted. Insecurities, that's a big one when you're young. The insecurities, when I was at school, I always thought I had a big nose. It really was kind of like, I don't like my look. I look a bit weird. My hair was always curly and wavy. It's not now, but it was then, and that annoyed me. I just didn't feel right. I didn't feel right at all. I was really insecure, and really for no reason when I look back on it now. But when you're young, you just feel the way you are, and that's it. Infatuation. I mean, I'm not actually saying the word love, because love is something I think happens much further on down your life. I don't think infatuation is basically lust, but you can write about it. It still feels the same. I think when you love somebody, it's not. It's hard to explain, but at least in my opinion, you're not dealing with surface issues. You're dealing with somebody's core. You're dealing with, right within their soul. You don't look at them as a commodity or as something to hang up in the wardrobe. You look at them in a completely different way. So infatuation, blimey, yeah, I think we've all been through that at 15, 16 years old. and you get hurt and get rejected and you get all these things and you write about it, you know, that's a good thing to write about. Again, right or wrong, you're still feeling it. There is no wrong. When you get to 50 years old, you'll look back and go, yeah, there was nothing to worry about. But at the time, it's really important. So, ecology, I mean, it's similar to current affairs, what you see on the news. You know, you see things at 18, 19 years old, and you see things like, I don't know, war in certain countries, and, you know, and you think, oh, that shouldn't be happening, that's very unjust. And I mean, Bob Dylan wrote about the diamond mining towns in South Africa. I can't remember where. I can't remember what song it was, but I remember reading the lyrics and thinking, wow, you know, and the guy was only probably, 19, 20 years old, 21 maybe then. So you can write about things outside of your own feelings, outside of your own emotions, I guess. But you're going to have to be quite well read. You're going to have to read a lot, and you're going to have to take information from many different sources to get to the truth, which is probably a really hard thing to do these days with fake news, and everyone's got their agenda, and scientists running the country and stuff like that. You just, you know, you've got to be able to look through the flim-flam of it all. Politics and ecology, stuff like that, I mean, for me, I've always steered away from it because, you know, for me, it's more important to write about stuff that happens to you, that actually leaves scars. It leaves parts of your membrane on the floor after people have trodden on. You know, it's just that's it. You know, so for me, write about the stuff you know. I'm trying to think of other things that maybe race. Race is another one. I don't want to confuse race with racism, because although they're the same thing, they're different things at what age you experience them. So, for example, you could be 6, 7, 8 years old, and you know, other kids, you're experiencing. Well, you might not even be experiencing it, but it's happening. You will experience some sort of racist behaviour. If you're a black person and you're in a minority and your classroom's full of 20 other white children, you don't have to be black. It could be religious bound. It could be your religious ethnicity. You know, they're all things that you can't control, and you might not even be aware of them. You might not be aware how to label it, but it's still happening. So, whereas racism, we'll talk about that later on. I'm not going to go deep into it. We're dealing with the young person as a songwriter. What do you talk about? So you talk about the things you feel. You know, I think as an older person, well, then you've got a much wider gamut of experiences to draw upon. You know, I mean, the older songwriter can draw upon love, death, politics, divorce, abuse, addiction, racism, narcissism, surrealism. The surrealism is a different. You can draw upon it, but surrealism is talking about imagery and you know, my favourite artist, Salvador Dali. I mean, I can draw a lot of inspiration from his paintings. Whether I put them into songs or not, well, it's my choice. But imagery, you can create a kind of image, and I put it anyway. Well, that's another topic for another day. But it's there for the older songwriter, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to draw upon, and of course, you know, these are just not words. attached to these words are actual life-changing experiences. I lost my dad just over a year ago now, and but I was a carer for him for 4 years prior to that, so I couldn't really, and I was holding down a job as well as trying to do gigs, and that's when all my songs kind of started to fuse, kind of come together. Like every time I'd sit down with a guitar or a piano, something would come, some idea would come, and it's only the years I've been playing that I can kind of disregard, the wheat for the chaff. I can see the I don't want to carry on with analogies, but I can tell when something's got legs and when it hasn't, and so I can disregard them very quickly if I don't think they're going to come to fruition in any way. So yeah, as a songwriter, as an older songwriter, you've got a lot more to draw from, but they're not just words. Like when you're young, you feel these things, but you don't really feel the things I'm talking about. They're words, but they're not really attached to anything particular. You're kind of intellectualizing what you're saying, but when you're older, you don't intellectualize it. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't write songs until you're the age of 35 and waste all the 20 years you've got before that. That would be ridiculous. But it's just to say, there are so many things that you can talk about, and it seems quite strange for me to sit here and tell you about all this when really I don't consider myself a great lyricist. I don't consider myself as being a great lyricist at all. Yeah, I have to work hard at it, and sometimes words fall out and you think, well, that's good, I'll write that down. But most times it's a job. It's having to sit down and go, right, now I've got to work. Whereas music, I don't have to do that. It just kind of happens naturally. So I would definitely say, just keep at it, and don't be afraid to write about things that you don't know either. Because writing about things you don't know means that you're exploring the possibilities, you're exploring the idea, and by doing that, it means your mind's aware and it's open to the exploration of things that you don't understand. And I think that's a very positive thing. There's too many people out there singing rubbish, absolute gumph. Jesus, I don't want to blaspheme. I'm not religious, but I know many of you probably will be. You'll notice I've refrained from swearing because I don't like to swear on camera, but fuck it, there's some fucking idiots out there writing lyrics. You just think, what a load of old crap that is. So, okay, the two elements of songwriting, I think, that are, well, the only two elements are biological and environmental. And by that, I mean biological are the things that you cannot change, and environmental are the things that, well, not only you can change, but they can change you, experiences. Biological, the things you can't change, well, probably looking at things like colour, ethnicity, religious beliefs. I know religious beliefs can be changed later on, so they would fall into the environmental, but as a youngster, you are kind of predetermined by what your parents see you as. So at this a young stage, I'd say that would be true. A physical handicap, perhaps your body shape. Again, you're too young to control your body shape because effectively being fed by your parents, they are feeding you and they are in charge of your diet at a young age. Again, later on it can be an environmental thing and it's your choice. So as a young songwriter, it's important to grasp the things that you can change from the things that you can't change but the things that you can change eventually. Trying to make it as simple as possible. So yeah, they're the kind of key elements from a young person's point of view, looking at the biological standpoint of songwriting. So environmentally, things that you can change, or the things that can change you. I think we're now looking at the, as I said before, the love, death, deceit, jealousy, your parents, abuse, politics, tragic events. Again, it's under current affairs. I remember tragic events I've seen in my life. Okay, the 1985 space shuttle disaster, watching that live on television, and exploded as it reached the Earth's, I don't know what it was, stratosphere, or, I don't know, but yeah, you saw people die live on TV, just like that. You know, that was quite shocking. The Twin Towers, I mean, that was shocking too. I was older then, so maybe it was just as shocking, but I was older, so more equipped to deal with seeing something like that. Hungerford massacre, stuff like that, you know, it's just tragic events, disastrous events, planes going down here. You know, they're all things that you can write about. But they're things I think that really bring out, they evoke your emotions, but why not channel that emotion into things that you do know about? So just because you saw the space shuttle disaster doesn't mean you have to write about the space shuttle disaster, but it will evoke the intention to turn that kind of emotion into writing about why your mother left you. Or so you can draw from all these experiences and turn them into things that you really know about. Unless you actually know about, you know, space exploration and NASA and stuff like that and the planets, then maybe you can write a song about that. I can't because I don't know anything, but maybe you do. So there are various avenues. You know, draw just because you've seen something. Don't just think you've got to talk about that thing you've seen. You can use that to draw upon talking about other things that evoke the same emotional response. And that's where songwriting becomes interesting. And believe me, I'm talking about it from a standpoint that I'm not a very good songwriter. Not a songwriter, a lyricist. Maybe we're talking about lyrics today, so lyricist. Bullying is another one. Is another big one. That's gonna cause so much suppression in somebody, as is either mental abuse or physical abuse. Those things, very traumatic. That'll give you enough material to draw upon. And the good thing is about, I know it's not a good thing. None of this is a good thing, but if these things have happened, the flip side of the coin, and the only positive thing to say about all of this, is that you are your own therapist, because you're writing about this stuff in your own time and you can draw upon it, and it's good. It's like venting stuff that needs to be vented, and it's good. And it's hard to talk about. It's easy to talk about music because if you really want to break music down, you can do it theoretically. You can say, well, a B flat there can go to a G minor here, can go to a C there, you know, but with emotions, and we're all different, and you can't do it. You can't. If we could do it, there would not be psychotherapy. There would not be psychiatry. We'd already know the answers, so therefore we could just put everyone in their little pigeonholes and decompartmentalise everybody and all the personalities. But you can't. You can't. It's not like music. It's not like notation. It's feelings and feelings, and you're writing. You know, the thing is with songwriters, and especially musicians, is that musicians are always drawing from other musicians. They're always drawing from other musicians and other music. Whereas songwriters, lyricists, are drawing not from those people. They're drawing from what they see around them. And that's what makes lyricists a very underrated art form, in my opinion. I value a great lyricist like Bob Dylan, or, I don't know, Roger Waters, or Paul Simon. I mean, some of them are great musicians as well, as being great lyricists, but I value their lyrical content far beyond any musician. And I would include Chet Atkins and anyone in music. I just think if you can write about stuff, it's like you're a storyteller. And I look at them like I look at car mechanics. Well, I know that might sound facetious, but I know nothing about cars. I'd like to, because it would save me a lot of money. But I don't know anything, and I don't understand how this thing makes that thing work. And it's the same with lyricism. So yeah, I think I've kind of come to the end of my self-healing rant analysis of songwriters, songwriting, lyrical content, whatever you might call it. We'll go further in depth in lyrics another time on another video. Hey, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. I know I've sat here just waffling on. I know I'm slightly dishevelled. I didn't really want to do this video, but I've not because of the songwriting, not because of the content, but because of the, you know, I probably had to say a little bit about myself and where I came from in the beginning of the video. And yeah, I don't really want to do that, but I think it's relevant. You know, I think if you carry emotional scars from a young age and you've gone through stuff, this is getting way too deep for a musician. Yeah, please like and subscribe. Hit the like button, subscribe button. There'll be many more videos. Every Friday I'll put one out. Thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves. See you again soon.